Hello and welcome to another Dragonstorm Studios video. And today we're going to draw Ajani Goldmane. He is the last part of the Gatewatch. I've drawn all of the other members up until this point. And Ajani is a Planeswalker normally associated with the white color pile, although has been known to delve into white-red and white-green. And he is probably the first Planeswalker that I really kind of latched on to when I first started playing the game. I first, found myself drawn to him because of his aesthetic. He was really cool looking. He was a part lion, part man, and I just thought that was really cool. I'd never seen that before, and it was just so interesting to me to think of that kind of creation. And of course, since then, I've discovered all sorts of other types of media where you get that sort of wonderful combination, I guess, of animal and human. But Ajani was the first one to kind of get my attention, and as a result, I found out more about him. I thought he was a really cool character. He's got a tragic backstory, and his relationships with other Planeswalkers have also ended in tragedy. He's had a rough go of things for sure. So I'm starting off just by doing my usual basic shapes, trying to work out exactly where all of the details are going. And I'm working off a picture of a lion to start off with. I figured I don't want to do what is normally done with Ajani, which is make him stand heroically, stand epically, maybe gesturing perhaps. I want him in action. I want to see him doing something. And as a result, I found a picture of a lion, which I really liked, which he's got a bit of a snarl. He's got an intense kind of look to him. But I'm going to combine that with a picture of Wolverine. And that, I think, is going to make a really, really interesting picture, because Wolverine is all about motion, action, ferocity. And I would imagine that if you were to get Ajani angry, that would be a bad scene. We wouldn't want that to happen, or at least you wouldn't want that to happen if you were against him. And I don't know, we'll see how this turns out. So basic shapes, triangles, squares, ovals, rectangles, circles. That's how we get started. I'm noticing as well that the eyes kind of end up lining up with the far exterior of the snout on either side. So that's where we're going to put our eyes there. And it's going to look really cartoony at first, because what really makes the lion look so ferocious is all of the, I like to call it face paint, but it's all the markings and darker areas on the face, which really make a big difference in the picture. So we can already see, just by adding some detail, lots of light and dark in the picture, we're able to go from what looked like a cartoon, almost like a teddy bear at first, has really started to look more like a lion and much more fearsome. I'm using a 2H pencil right now. These are great because the lines are very, very light. You can certainly go lighter than that, but I do want them to still show up. Ajani is a white lion, an albino, and as a result, we don't want to go too dark with any of our shading. So the 2H really allows me to have a lot of control over these areas where you're going to have shadows, but we want them to be really light shadows. You can see the braids there coming down as well. Now, one of the real tricks when it comes to drawing any kind of anthropomorphic character, which means any character which is part animal, part human, is the connection points, the places where the animal and the human meet. And I've always struggled when it comes to drawing sphinxes, for example, having the head meet the body, so the head of the human being the body of the animal. Here we're kind of reversed. And luckily, Ajani was designed so that he's got lots of fuzzy mane, which will help that connection, but also, which is really helpful, is he's got a lot of ornamentation. He's got lots of clothing, which really does help. So you've got this almost like a cape, which he wears, which actually belonged to Elspeth, who, if you follow the lore at all, was a planeswalker from Theros, who, now this is where I'm a little bit fuzzy and hazy on details, but fought the god Heliod and lost. So she passed away. And as a tribute to that character, Ajani wears her cloak as kind of like this mantle around his neck. And that will really help when it comes to the connection. Another thing that will help is shadow. So we're going to have Ajani leaping towards us, and as a result, we're going to have some wonderful dark shadows being cast by his head and mane onto his neck and shoulders, and that's going to hide some of those details as well. Great little tricks when it comes to creating those not impossible, I shouldn't say impossible, those unnatural sort of connections between man and beast here. If you remember my video on the top 10 magic cards standard of 2020, I discussed this when I talked about Dream Trawler, which is a Sphinx, and just how interesting the problem solving was that the artist did on that picture. I'm going to do that off camera, the rest of that, but I'm going to work just on the kind of more human parts. And again, 2H pencil, nice and light, so I can erase anything I don't need. There's where his little armor is, his shoulder, and we're going to have him holding his double-bladed axe spear thing. I'm not sure what the heck they even call that, but it's going to be coming here towards us. Make a fist from to hold that with, and he's going to be leaping in midair towards us, which is going to look really epic, hopefully. So I think I'm happy with that so far. I'm going to be working next on just adding some detail, some more shadows and shading, some reflective qualities perhaps to the blade of the dual-headed axe staff thing, and perhaps we'll have this fabric here kind of fluttering off in the wind behind him as he rages towards us here. And as we add more dark to our armor to create that metal effect, it starts looking a lot more impressive too. And again, we've spoken before on the channel about how shading makes such a big difference in the picture. So although it may have looked maybe a bit cartoony and maybe not impressive before, it really starts to come together at this point. I also decided to use another technique we've talked about before called that hand selfie for the hand itself to help me with the shape and the shading as well. So that you might also find useful. I've also always found the more you work on a picture, the more detail you kind of notice that it needs. It's almost as if as you're working, you're kind of constantly reevaluating the piece. And I find that taking a step back from the work also helps with this. I kind of noticed that the ears looked a bit weird. So upon closer inspection, the reason why the drawing at first looked very bear-like is that the ears were not cat ears or lion ears, I guess. So I had to adjust those a little bit. And also noticing that a lot of the mane was a little overdone. So I kind of scaled back a little bit there as well. So I'm working on the musculature now, and the musculature, again, is very subtle. I find that just using the blending stomp, or if you don't have a blending stomp, just some your finger or some facial tissue works really well toward getting those subtle effects in there. And that goes for the legs as well. We want to just create the impression of the musculature that's there without making it too in your face, too obvious. I also decided that the arm, which was supposed to look more Wolverine-like, would have gone off the page. So I decided to bring it back in again. He's kind of, maybe for balance, got his arm coming in toward the body more. Not only does that show the arm, which makes it just a more pleasing piece, we don't think that the arm is missing, it also just adds a little bit more of a sense of organization to the piece. Like I did that on purpose. I didn't, but it looks like I did now. And there we have Ajani leaping into battle toward the viewer. Not sure if he's a wise counselor, maybe not vengeant, but certainly unyielding. Hope you enjoyed that video. Please leave me a comment if you have anything to say in the comments below. Share the video if you think that would be something that someone else would enjoy. Like and subscribe if those are things that you are apt to do. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.